Hello and welcome back to my Let's Challenge of Final Fantasy XIII. In the last episode we completed Chapter 9, and now we are here in the Fifth Ark in Chapter 10, ready to continue onwards. And as we have finished a chapter in the previous episode, it is time for the recap of what happened in Chapter 9. So after the devastating news about his son turning into crystal, we were left on tenterhooks at the end of Chapter 8, wondering whether Saz would actually be able to live on and actually be able to continue on with his journey. And of course it turns out that he can, as he is standing right before us right here. Indeed, whilst in many ways he feels like he should or he wants to end his own life, feeling like he has nothing left to live for, he can't go through with it and instead fires his pistols far away. And then he starts... And then he and Vanille are captured by Jill Nabat and her branch of PSICOM, and they are brought onto the Palamecia, the flagship of PSICOM, this huge battleship, and they are brought on there, and they are paraded in front of Cocoon on the news, being told that these l'Cie have been caught, there's no need to be worried anymore, and you are all going to be much safer for the loss of them, as they end up being judged over by the Primarch himself, and then they will be executed. Now obviously this is all a big ruse on PSICOM's part because they want to lure the other l'Cies out of hiding, and indeed the other l'Cies are watching, and they know it's a trap, but at the same time they see an opportunity. They know that if they can get in, they could not only rescue Saz and Vanille, but they could also combat the Primarch himself. And after the end of Chapter 7, where obviously they were taken away by the cavalry, which stopped them, having spoken with Reigns and all this sort of stuff, they realise exactly what's going on. They now actually have a purpose, a direction in their actions. They know that they see the world as it is currently run by fal'Cie, and they feel that humans deserve the chance to actually be rulers of their own fate. They actually deserve the chance to actually have a say as to whether as to what they do, as to how they should proceed forwards in the world, and they don't want the fal'Cie overlords to be ruling over them once more. So they intend on capturing Bartandlis, the head of the Sanctum, and having him reveal to the world, reveal to Cocoon as a whole, that they are being controlled by fal'Cie, and that so the humans can actually take back control and actually start taking command of their lives. So, the four, with Reigns' help, they sneak aboard the Palamecia, only to be very briefly, only to be very quickly met with strong resistance from PSICOM troops on board. However, using their l'Cie powers, obviously the four l'Cie, Snow, Fang, Lightning and Hope, start making their way through the ship, and in doing so they're taking all of the plans that Nabat and the PSICOM had made to capture the l'Cies. They're throwing them out the window. They're causing complete havoc aboard the ship. At the same time, Saz and Vanille, Saz reinvigorated by hearing Vanille's story. Vanille finally confesses about everything, about how when she and Fang woke up, about the important thing is that Vanille remembers what her focus is, but Fang doesn't. And rather than face her focus once more and face the inevitable amount of death that it would cause, Vanille runs away from her focus, runs away from it, does not want to face it at all, and decides to run away, essentially. And indeed, the way she wanted to run away was she wanted to get on the train to Pulse, get on that purge train, be taken back to Pulse and just live her days there. Obviously, it was not to be, as the purge was not a relocation, but instead a massacre. So, but anyway, within hearing this story, Saz hears something. He realises that if Vanille can wake up from crystal, then surely his son Darj will wake up from crystal as well. And indeed, maybe that will be the case. And so he now has a reason to continue onwards, and indeed, he doesn't want to die. So, they manage to break out of their PSICOM holdings, they manage to escape, and then they start, indeed, making their way through the ship at the same time. And as these two sets of l'Cie start causing chaos throughout the ship. Bartandalus, I'm giving things away. Gamth Dysley Primarch actually decides to take control over everything, and he calls Code White. Code White causes the engine to stop, the Palamecia to start slowing in the air, and so everything cools down. The engine power room failure and all this sort of stuff. So eventually the l'Cie make their way through the ship. They manage to make an incredible entrance into the bridge section of the ship, and they challenge Nabat and Dysley right before them. And Nabat stands down and faces off against the l'Cie, and she is ready to defend her Primarch, defend Dysley with her life. However, Dysley reveals his true intentions and kills Nabat with a blow of magic. He then kills the remaining humans in the room, revealing himself to be not human himself. Certainly confused, the l'Cie challenge him, realizing that he must be surely he's l'Cie as well, and so if everyone's scared of l'Cie, surely this is the best way to show the fallacy that is Cocoon and how the fallacy rule. But then Dysley reveals his true form. He is actually Lead fal'Cie, so Lord Sovereign of the Cocoon fal'Cie. His name is Bartandalus. He is fal'Cie himself, and he is not willing to let these l'Cie try and take control when he is obviously super powerful and all powerful. So he challenges them to a battle, and they fight, and eventually the l'Cie seemingly win, only for Bartandalus to reappear. And indeed, he decides to tell them of their fate. He clears up everything about the truth. He tells them about how their focus is truly to destroy Cocoon, to become Ragnarok and tear Cocoon down from the sky. By defeating Orphan, by defeating Eden, who are the fal'Cie at the centre of in Eden, in the capital itself, and essentially the reason why Cocoon stays afloat and the reason why Cocoon essentially lives on. So he tells them that they need to become Ragnarok. He tells them that Sarah's focus was merely to arrange for more humans to be brought to the Pulse fal'Cie inside the vestige, and indeed, so when Hope, Saz, Lightning and Snow all arrive at her, she turns to Crystal because her focus is done. Those four people are now going to go on and become l'Cie and take on the focus forwards. And so, and then finally, rather than as the Palamecia starts to crash, he then leaves them with a ship and tells them that they should, that they should essentially see the how dangerous their plight actually is, and how hopeless it is for them to actually try and fight against their own fate. However, and then they jump aboard the ship, and this ship actually turns out to be essentially controlling itself. It manages to fight itself despite some attentions from Yarg Rosh, who has miraculously survived the attack in Palampolum and is now piloting his own warship, tries to take down the l'Cie as he knows they're escaping, but the ship itself can escape. And then that ship managed to fly itself into Eden, the floating capital city of the world, bypasses the shield, flies into Eden, and then seemingly crashes into one of the buildings, only for it to reveal that that building is just a facade for this, the Fifth Ark, one of the arcs that are hidden amongst that were used in previous times by the people on Pulse. And obviously, having this piece of Pulse so close to the capital of Cocoon is completely baffling. Why on earth would they have a piece of Pulse so close to Cocoon? So, a lot of questions for people about what on earth was going on. Obviously, Snow was suffering because he had to fight with the fact that everything he'd been using as fuel for him to continue forwards with regards to what Sarah's focus was, has turned out to be incorrect. And now we are here, ready to continue onwards. Obviously we had a little bit more story at the start of Chapter 10, we won't go over that, as I'm sure we'll have a recap for Chapter 10. Instead, we are going to come into this chapter and we're going to start doing some battles. As you can see, we have a new team of Saz, Vanille, and Snow. Fun thing about this team is that this is essentially a combination of the two best offensive characters we have, being Saz and Vanille, along with Snow, who is both our best defensive character in terms of he's our best sentinel, but he's also he's got a good amount of damage. He's got good damage output, and that's really helpful as well. So we're hoping to use this right now. Now I'm just going to try and lower that brightness, hopefully. So these guys are weak to fire, weak to lightning. But what of course we're going to do is we're going to start off with haste. So haste bravery for Snow. Should probably put it on Saz first. We only really need haste for Saz. We're just going to get some healing here. These Pulsian Knights do a lot of damage, and that is, you know, just something that you do need to be careful of. You're all weak to fire and lightning straight from the start, which is actually really good. Although once we get Imperil on, you are of course literally weak to everything, I'm pretty sure, yeah. There we go, lovely, lovely. Nice quick battle. The Pulsian Knights aren't too dangerous by themselves because they don't really attack. Like, groups of 2 and, I mean, even 3 shouldn't be too much of a problem, especially if we can get preemptives. Preemptives should literally be death by, like, really quick, I would expect. This battle should not last long at all. No, there we go. Lovely, 16 seconds. Gotta love the battles that are nice and quick. So yeah, so obviously these are, yeah, so now we're reaching essentially where we were dropped off at the end of the last cutscene, at the end of the last episode. We've got some more battles with these Pulsian Knights, and then we'll start hitting some new enemies, hopefully. We'll see some... Because this area has some really interesting set of enemies, I find. And indeed, that's what makes it rather fun. Once we get Stagger, we're going to go into Devastation once more. And then I just love Devastation, it's a great paradigm. Okay, Haste. Thunder on Neil. On Saz. Damn. Okay, I need to change my paradigm output slightly. So I should only have healing paradigms at the bottom two. It's how I always set up whenever I played this game. And I'm not going to change that now. I love the effect that Infire has on Snow, if you ever look. There we go, lovely. So. There we go, lovely. I do really like how the end spells, the effects that you can obviously visibly see with them. I think it looks really cool. Okay, so new enemies. New enemies are Circuitrons, and these guys are actually pretty darn dangerous to us. As you can see, they are bomb-like enemies, so very similar to the bombs that we saw in Chapter 4, also when we were using Saz and Vanille. And they work in pretty much exactly the same way. They are largely electric type, so you don't want to be firing anything like Spark Strike at them, unfortunately. And as with all of the other bomb-type enemies, essentially, the more health they have, the more likely they are to self-destruct. Essentially, the first few steps that they start at half health, so they start the battle at half health, and from half health, what they do you actually, yeah, okay, good. So they start battle at half health, the attacks that they do at the start actually give them health, along with obviously taking health off you. And then essentially what you've got to do is you've just got to stop. What they will then do is they will self-destruct, and the amount of damage that self-destruct does is incredibly dependent on how much health they have left. So if you don't manage to whittle down their health rather quickly, they will do a hell of a lot more damage when they explode than if you manage to start to take down their health. So yeah. Okay, so Pulsian Knights, once more, are very, obviously we've already done this battle twice, or multiple times before, so we really, by this point we're rather familiar with how this works. We can get these hastes on. Okay, so now we're in a really nice position. Headspin can do quite a lot of damage. You do need to be careful with it. I think it does damage depending on how close you are to the enemy, so you can obviously sort of minimise that rather easily. So obviously the reason I am acting as Saz, because obviously now we actually have the choice as to which character we can be, the reason I'm acting as Saz is because Saz is my synergist, and because I want to have the choice as to what buffs I put on people. So for example, Faith on Snow is completely useless, for example. Bravery on Vanille is completely pointless. And essentially the auto synergists will essentially just go through like a set list of moves that they want to use. So I really like being a synergist because it gives you a lot of control as to the structure of how you structure your battle. Because obviously for me, haste is really handy. Tool. Okay, so we've got some Circuitrons, maybe two. I'm just going to check the bomb. Circuitrons are weak to ice, so if I start in Devastation, so if I start in Decimation, not Devastation. If I start in Decimation, I put in Frost on essentially haste, and then haste and then frost on snow, which is the aim. I'm hoping that they're aiming for the one of the good. Yes, he's aiming for the. So you can see that obviously Snow's going to be doing a huge amount of damage using in Frost, which is really good. Now in Frost, now the nice thing about the end spells is that they do not actually disappear until essentially, so obviously he's using ice type moves, but they're not actually they're not super effective against the Pulsian Knight until Imperil is actually involved. However, what's really useful is that essentially you only ever lose an end spell if you actually use that attack on an enemy which is either neutral or completely, on an enemy which either resists or is immune to that spell. So essentially, if I put in Thunder on Snow, for example, and he attacked a Circuitron, which obviously absorbs electric type moves, then he would, then that would lead to the Thunder being taken off of Snow. However, if it's something neutral, then that doesn't get taken off, which means that if you then get the chance to land in peril, then obviously that does allow you to take it off, which is really nice. Hopefully that makes sense. So we want to haste and frost on Snow. So these Circuitrons aren't very dangerous. We do want to ensure that they go down fast. Thankfully this Frost is working really nicely. This guy will probably explode, but we should be able to do more than enough damage. Yeah, there you go. Self-destruct is on course, but we managed to take him out beforehand, and that's really good. Just as with the bombs that we had in Chapter 4, if any of the bomb-type enemies do manage to self-destruct, then you do not get any CP for killing them. So you don't actually get any, there's no actual benefit to battling them if you don't actually take them out, essentially. So anyway, we're going to make our way through this sort of first little area. As you can see, it's sort of, this first sort of room gives you a broad idea as to what this arc is all about, being obviously a place for Lacies to train and for to actually master their new powers. So haste again, haste and then frost once more on Snow. And then 2 relentless assault. Nope, wrong. Circuitron. Please battle the same enemy, Vanille. Come on. Should hopefully take him out. There we go. Lovely. Okay. We should be fine. We should get very easy stagger here, and then it's going to be a very simple matter of. We'll let Vanille put Deep Protect just for even more. Like, pretty much Deep Protect is guaranteed to, or almost guaranteed to land once they're staggered. Their sort of resistance to your Saboteur is very much weakened. And that is the case for most enemies, to be fair. Most enemies really suffer once you stagger them, obviously. That's the whole point of staggering. So, we're going to end up heading sort of deeper into this rather vast area. And we're going to meet some new enemies. So this is going to be a little different. So we're going to go into Smart Bomb here. The reason that Smart Bomb works against multiple enemies now is because one of the things that Vanille learnt, that I actually taught her before starting this episode, using some of the using the CP that we got for defeating Bartandless, is she gets Deprotega and Deprotectgar. Which are really nice. Sorry, Deprotega and Deshelgar. So essentially, any Gar, sort of Gar on the end of a word or on the end of a spell, essentially means it's attacking, a larger, over a larger. It's attacking multiple enemies instead of one. That's what I meant to say. So these are obviously Noctilucales or Noctilucales, no idea how to pronounce it. The name comes from, essentially, it's a it's a specific, like, I guess species maybe. It's related to plankton, essentially plankton, marine plankton. That's where the name comes from. They're not really anything. They're not actually a threat to us, really. They can be in very large groups, but we're actually unlikely to face them in very large groups for a while. Okay, so new enemies. These guys, little phosphoric oozes. These guys are a bit more interesting. They essentially have the capability of merging, and if you let them merge, then what happens is that they become a much more dangerous and a much bigger threat in turning into what's called an alchemic ooze. And alchemic oozes are like not to be taken too lightly. So this guy's obviously trying to merge. We don't want that to happen. Unfortunately, there's nothing much we could really do about that. So, alchemic oozes, they do a lot more damage, and as you can see, their attacks have the capability of poisoning you, which is not fun. I would love some. I'm gonna die here if I'm not careful. Oh boy, that was close. Why, you're weak to fire, I think. What's better is faithing up Vanille. Are you... okay, don't really know. What we can't do is let our stagger go. So yeah, so essentially the issue with the users is, as with a lot of these, they're essentially part of a general type of enemy called flans. We'll see a lot more of these sort of enemies in later chapters. So, we should get a stagger, hopefully. So we're going to get stagger at least here, which is good. As you can see, Snow is sort of varying between Ruin and... oh, he leads off with Ruin, that's why. He's going Ruin and then 3 attacks. Obviously to essentially test to see whether they're stronger or weaker against physical or magic attacks. As you can see, the amount of your battle score that you get afterwards essentially is completely destroyed if you let these merge. As you see, yeah, so they are weak to fire. You don't really want to let them merge. At the same time, if you want to collect everything in the if you want to have every single thing in the enemy data log, then you do actually kind of want them to merge. I'll be interested to see who Snow's attacks here, because I'm pretty sure everything here is weak to fire. So I'm going to haste and fire Snow. He is attacking the oozes, okay. Okay, so it looks like, okay, they take half damage from physical attacks. But as you can see, Snow is still more effective to actually use physical attacks than special attacks. That just goes to show how poor his magic actually is. So these guys are obviously weak to fire and ice. Obviously being weak to fire is really helpful, because it means that both of those enemies in that group are weak to fire. Just very convenient. Shared weaknesses are always a good thing. Lovely. You can obviously, if we had obviously the one issue with Snow being our commando is that we don't actually have a commando as we get Lore Master, a trophy. Trophy is awesome because that is another life for us. I have no idea what that is for. Let me have a look. What is that for? Normally I wouldn't do this, but it's important. Let's have a look. Lore Master. It's probably there. discerned the full attributes of 100 enemies. There you go. Okay, so that is why it's important to always try and get the information of every enemy. So there you go. I'm assuming that was either the Phosphoric Oozes or the Noctilucales, but I want to say it's Noctilucale, but it might be Noctilucali because it's like Latin. I don't know. Who cares? I'm just thinking what I'm going to do just for these battles. I'm going to swap to that, and I'm going to put Hasten and Fire on me, or Hasten and Frost actually, because I like Frost more than Fire. And then all we're going to do is we're just going to spam Blitz. Lovely. Just a different way of doing a battle like that. That time I actually got all 5 stars, I should say. Okay, so we're going to continue onwards into the Ark, try and get to the next good save point, and then obviously we will call this episode to an end. Again, we have a group of enemies, all of which are weak to fire, so Haste and Fire is going to be in order here. On Zaz, and then we're going to hope that they're going for the Phosphoric Oozes. Yes, they are. Awesome. We're going to go to Smart Bomb just for a few turns because of the benefit of Deprotega and stuff like that. If it works, then that's really nice for us. Oh, damn. So obviously you have this time period before it turns into an Alchemic Ooze where you can actually try and, as you can see, finish it off just before the real thing sort of, before actually, you know, it has the chance to really become dangerous to you. Blitz once more is proving very nice. That should finish you off. That's just going to do a bunch of damage to you. Beautiful, lovely. And that's something I couldn't do if I wasn't being Saz, if I didn't have lead control of my synergist, obviously. I wouldn't be able to do these battles in the stale in the way that I'm currently doing them. This next one is... I'm pretty sure we're essentially just looking back at... Yeah, so we've got a large group of Noctilucales. And just for this one, we're just going to essentially... In very large groups like this, these guys can be dangerous in terms of just... Now, I'm very happy we got the preemptive. The preemptive really helps things here, because what we can do is we can Quake, and that will essentially stagger all of these guys. Ah, I didn't get him Frost. That's annoying. Well. We didn't. So we probably actually didn't need the Fire there, but works out nice enough in the end. Obviously the preemptive really helps. But yeah, no, that battle is actually a decent way. I think you can. I don't know how much CP it gives you. I seem to remember that maybe you can actually do some grinding, just going back and forth between... That might be a load of rubbish, actually. I doubt it's a good grinding spot. But no, that battle can be a little dangerous just because having that many enemies actually absorbing health from you will obviously take its toll, and if you don't have medics then it will do damage. So, but obviously now that that has happened, we can actually get out of that and we can go into this battle, which does not look too fun. Probably should have gone smart bomb there, but we can definitely take out one of these guys at least. That guy's going for a merge. We can't do anything about it. I mean, we could try and take him out super fast. I'm pretty sure that there's no way that a phosphoric ooze can further merge with an alchemic ooze and cause even more trouble for us. I'm pretty sure that's not a thing. I'm just going to hit Libra just to make sure that we get all the information. It's quite likely that we're going to fight them again, but always worth, just to be sure. Guy's doing way too much damage to Snow. Vanille is actually not healing as much as I was hoping she would be. Protection is going to be needed here, okay. So, let's just auto support. Faith for Vanille. And then fire. Actually, in fire means nothing to him because he doesn't actually have any. I suppose in diversity, in the paradigms where he is our commander, that will actually help. Come on, Vanille, I'm gonna need you. Thank you. There we go, lovely. Those alchemic oozes are a pain. Like if you're super aggressive, I guess, if you're like only in Relentless Assault or something like that, or aggression even, you could probably take them out. But to be fair, I mean, it's not a difficult battle against the alchemic ooze. I mean, it is if you were like to say, let two of them, like if you had two alchemic oozes to deal with, that would be annoying. But ultimately it's not too bad. So, as we enter this interesting sort of little, this next little section, as we enter deeper into this vast sort of connecting network of tunnels within this arc, we are going to call this episode to an end right here, because I have a save point. In the next episode, we will obviously be continuing to make our way through Chapter 10 here in the Fifth Ark. I hope to see you on the next episode.